0-286. That was the record for all SEC teams trailing by at least 27 points at halftime since 2004. Texas A&M made that 1-286 Saturday. We're going to dive into the film and talk about how they did what nobody has done in at least 22 years. I was calling the Virginia Tech at Florida State game, and we had a late kick, so I got to see this one live. Let's start with what went wrong. Texas A&M turned the ball over 3 times in the first 2 quarters, with at least 3 other times that should have been turnovers. All right away. Early on in the game, this is the first what should have been interception. Like always, motioning Casey Concepcion here in the slot. He's going to have a little control route, and then you got a dig route behind him. KC just loses track of this middle linebacker who's going to drop underneath it. Tries to throw it in this first window. Should have thrown it in this second window right here. This is easy, though. Like, this is bad football. This is just getting all out of sorts. Bang. He's pulling the trigger right now. It's like, bro, there's a linebacker right there. Very unlike Marcel Reed, trying to hit this receiver on the top of the screen. This is the first one. Not really anything South Carolina's doing on that play. That's just bad quarterback play. Second one, again, Casey Concepcion in motion. I love him, by the way. He's top 3 receiver in college football, at least my favorites. This time, they're going to have Concepcion go straight into the flat. You got this receiver on the top of the screen, a little hitch right here. And then I drew over this linebacker. But this is a byproduct of Casey Concepcion. You make one mistake early on the game, then maybe you're pressing later on the game. He pre-plays this in that he doesn't actually read what this linebacker's doing. And he tries to anticipate the throw out on the arrow to Casey Concepcion. But this linebacker jumps this arrow route, and the receiver on the top of the screen ends up being wide open. He misses a wide open hitch by that receiver on the top of the screen because this linebacker jumps the arrow route. And it's just, you love that a quarterback's being anticipatory with his throws, but got to trust what you see. Or I guess you got to let what you see happens because, again, not really anything South Carolina's doing. That dude is wide ass open. Playing bad, maybe getting off to a slow start, thinking it's going to be an easy game versus South Carolina. Obviously not the case. This is the interception in the second quarter. Also ugly. This is actually probably the most ugly of all of them. You got a corner route by Casey Concepcion. You got a return route by this receiver who's getting ready to come open. Then this tight end's like slow off the ball and then cuts in. KC just loses track of this corner. I think he thinks that the corner is going to drive on these routes underneath. He doesn't. He just, plays this corner deep third spot or deep quarter spot. And like, look at how bad this is. If you didn't see it, it's probably bad on TV. You don't need the coach's film to realize how bad it is. But just forcing the ball, pressing, not seeing things clearly, underthrown. If you're going to throw that, you got to meet your receiver at the back pylon. So again, this is all first half throws. This is how you get down, 31-3 before the half. And then here, again, in the first half, believe this is Craver, dig route, top of the screen, overthrown, interception. We'll just rip through this one. This doesn't need to be a full X's and O's breakdown. Steps up, high ball, receiver, wide ass open. Good on South Carolina for, cashing in, taking advantage. But it's not like, there's not a lot of plays there, which speaks to how ultimately Texas A&M came back from this game because the plays were there in the first half. And this is the last of the mistakes that I'll talk about before we move on to the next one. But it shows you, I'm showing this because you can see the ripple effect and how a quarterback, by making mistakes in the pass game, other areas of his game start to break down. Here, you got a vertical route up by the point man in the bunch. You got an over route by this guy, and then the number 3, the inside most receiver in the bunch, he's going to come off the ball and settle down right there. This guy is wide ass open, and Marcel Reed's going to take this drop and then step up in the pocket and try to run. It's 3rd and 10 here. This dude's wide ass open in the progression and then continues to be open when Marcel Reed steps up in the pocket. And if Reed's eyes just stay up, which if he's not making these mistakes, I'm sure his eyes would stay up. This is late in the second quarter. He could have driven this ball here. This might score as a broken play, and it could have easily changed the complexion of the first half, where you end the first half with momentum, and it's not all the negativity you're going into halftime with Beamer hyping up the crowd. Look at that. Look at that. So he steps up. This dude's wide open. This dude's wide open. Wide open initially. There is no one there. Hammer that ball. He catches that. This dude might score. So South Carolina, you did what you had to do. They are leaving so much offense on the field. South Carolina turned A&M over 3 times in the first half and turned that into 17 points. Were things better in the run game? Not at all. The leading rusher for the Aggies at the half was Reuben Owens with just 7 yards. Pretty easy to figure out why. South Carolina has an absolute game wrecker that showed out in the first half. Haven't heard a lot about him, at least from my West Coast perspective. Maybe SEC country's a little different. I don't think so. Dylan Stewart was a game wrecker, one of the best defensive players in the country last year as a true freshman. It showed up again this game. What an excellent jump he gets here. This is the forced fumble that South Carolina returns to the goal line and ultimately converts into points. Gets an excellent jump, and then he's going to read this mesh point and just wreck everything up. This dude's big time. What a jump. You can see Marcel Reed's trying to throw it out. Just a bad decision, but it started because of Dylan Stewart. That play gets the Sports Center highlight. This play was even more impressive because he's just going to absolutely put a clinic on this right tackle for Texas A&M. One-on-one, Dylan Stewart puts his right palm straight to his chest plate and drives his tackle back into Marcel Reed. This is another one. This is not one we've seen before. This is another interception that should have easily happened for South Carolina. It's the pressure by Dylan Stewart that starts it, and then the poor safety or linebacker just drops a pick. This is early on. This might be the first possession of the game. But again, Dylan Stewart right here, bottom of the screen. Look at this pass rush. And then I got you with the back view as well. Just dropped it. Poor guy. And we got back view. Look at this. Clinic tape. Just drive him right back into your dude. Or into Marcel Reed. But all right, that's enough time on what went wrong. How did things turn around? Or when did things turn around? Right when the whistle blew to start the second half. Totally different team for Texas A&M. A&M had 4 straight touchdown drives to start the half. And what changed specifically? Tempo. This quote that stuck out, and this is from Mike Elko. He said, "We call it 6-minute offense." It's that thought of being down 2 scores or 3 scores with 7 or 8 minutes to go in the game where you can still run your offense, but you got to be able to pick your tempo up. But I've never had to do that to start a second half before. I thought that was fascinating because I've never heard of a coach talk about 6-minute offense. You hear about 2-minute offense, which is obvious, hurry up, tempo, got to score right away. You hear about 4-minute offense, which is drain the clock. But the 6-minute offense scenario where you got to score multiple times, I thought that was just a really interesting way to describe that scenario of the game. Mike Elko, I'll probably reference that point at some point when I call a game. The first drive, you could tell right away that they were in tempo and it was a totally new offense. And I love this design. This is from the first drive. They're going to motion this receiver back here and he delays, and then it's a vertical shot down the field. Receiver, lone man on the bottom of the screen, he breaks inside, and then it's a post towards the middle of the field. The running back is going to work through and then break towards the boundary. He's wide ass open, and then you got the slot receiver working from left to right. I love this concept. I don't know if I've ever really seen this way of getting to it. You're an offensive coordinator in high school. If you got a passing quarterback, install this. I love this design. Ultimately, they're going to hit this receiver bottom of the screen after what looks like a little swoop bubble screen. Delays, home run shot. I believe this is a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it's right down to the goal line. Yep, touchdown. This right here is an example of a design that I love that I wanted to show you guys, but an example of when Marcel Reed is not overthinking. Look at this design. They're in 12 personnel. They got 2 tight ends here and 5 skill players to this side of the field. We've talked about 4 out to one side, 5 out to one side. This is a phenomenal design by Texas A&M. You can do that because the defense still has to account for Marcel Reed's legs as a running back. So it's freaking 5 skill players out to one side. But from the defense's perspective, you still have a running back in the backfield. The concept-wise, vertical shot, top of the screen. You got a little bubble by the number 2 guy. Casey Concepcion is in the slot, working towards the left hash. That's valuable because you know not only the guy ahead of him, but the safety is going to have to monitor KC. And then both these tight ends work out like they're blocking, and then one guy releases down in between hash and numbers, and then the inside guy who's going to catch this touchdown releases down the hash and then settles down. It's a phenomenal concept where he's not running himself out of the play. I love the way that he settles down. Marcel Reed knows that inside most tight end is the guy that's going to win this concept. This is a super unique design. That's so hard to defend. In fact, I don't even know how you defend that. And then this is what I was going to get to, where Texas A&M got the ball down 6 on their own 1-yard line. This is that drive to start the fourth quarter. This is the drive you talk about for years to come if you're an Aggies fan. You didn't want it to be in this spot, but that doesn't matter at this point. You just got to find a way to get 6 points, get out of here with the win, keep your perfect season alive. And the way that you're going to do that is have a gutsy quarterback that after playing poorly all game, he's able to respond, because this is a phenomenal throw to Casey Concepcion. I've said that dude's name like a dozen times in this video, but speaks to how dynamic he is. Again, they're going to motion him down. This actually might be Mario, my mistake. Motion him down. He's got a deep over. Ultimately, you're gonna get this football. Then you got a press vertical, working like a corner, and then back towards the middle of the field. This receiver's on an over route. Tight end's blocking, and I think he releases to the flat. But this is an excellent job by Marcel Reed stepping up in the pocket and then layering a football right here into what is tight coverage down by the sideline. This is the chunk play they needed. This is probably the 7th play in the 99-yard drive. Excellent execution. And they're trusting Marcel Reed to win from the pocket. It's not just about his legs. That's an average take if you think that's just all Marcel can do. That's a big-time throw, man. That's a big-time throw. Look at it from the back view. The Aggies marched 99 yards in 10 plays, capped off by a Emmitt Smith Jr. 4-yard touchdown run that ended the scoring on both sides. This is the first time Texas A&M has won 10 games in a season since 2012. And it's only the program's 3rd double-digit win season in the last 30 years. When I read that, I didn't believe it. I'm sure A&M fans watching this are like, yeah, Max, we know. That's why we're so freaking fired up on this season. And they got there to that point by doing what nobody has ever done Saturday. It was once 0 in 286. Now it's 1 in 286.